platform to another, and so they lose credibility, And then on the other hand, their children, if for instance their children or young people, they end up creating low self-esteem that when they go to school, they're already bullied, and what that means is that they may not perform well because every time they are calling them, you're stupid, how do you fail this small thing, you are dumb, you are dull, those kind of things online. And now that our children are always online, parents have allowed their children to be online, you've provided them gadgets, etc. Children are bullied, and then when they go to school or when they want to develop some skill, they have very low self-esteem, and so they cannot do so much. They end up now maybe hating internet or not even willing to go there. Some of them end up failing exams. Some of them even avoid online totally. And so you see those changes happen to people because of bullying them. So it is dangerous to bully people. Now we ask ourselves, so if you're bullied, how do you respond to this bullying? Because I know people are bullied every now and then. So how do we respond to cyberbullying? There are some techniques or tactics that people can be encouraged to use whenever there is some sort of bullying that is happening. On the side of the victim, there are about 4 to 5 elements that we recommend people to take, kind of steps to take to, respond to this bullying, cyberbullying. One of them is that you just need to block the bullies. If you realize that there's someone who is doing cyberbullying on you, it means that perhaps you do not need those individuals. So one of the best options you have to avoid continuous cyberbullying, you just block them. So that is one of the priorities that we can actually undertake. Encouraging our people that whenever they see bullying happening online, they just block the bullies so that you stop direct contact and therefore reduce exposure to this kind of bullying online. So that is one of the measures that our people can actually take. The other is that every time you're bullied, remember that you need protection. And so you may need to report to police or to UCC or whatever. But those entities will require you to have evidence that someone has been bullying you. So always recommend consumers that you must save the evidence. Make sure that whenever someone is bullying you, you save the evidence. So this evidence, therefore, provide proof when you are reporting, and therefore action can be taken quickly than when you don't have this evidence. So whenever someone bullies you, make sure that those bullying messages, whatever they are, save them as evidence so that you can report your case. Whoever is investigating the case, they have a starting point of looking at the saved evidence so they can use it to help you so that you can seek justice from the person who is actually bullying you. So that is another step that actually our people can actually take. The other is you may need to just go silent. You don't respond. The moment you respond to a bully, the bully takes you for granted. And so they will keep on bullying you over and over because every time they bully you, you want to respond. When you respond, they continually give you more information about that. So every time you respond to a bully, the bully keeps on building their case. So one of the mechanisms is actually to fail to respond. The person bullies you, you don't give them a response. So whenever you don't respond to them, they have nothing to build the case. So many of the bullies we have learned that actually build the case based on your responses. So when you want to create, you want to show that you're also powerful or something, you keep responding and they are building their case further. So one of the steps would be, don't respond. And for you guys in the media, you know very well that you can be targeted because you're writing your heavy stories there, you're doing the investigative journalism or whatever, and someone wants to boot you because of your program. So once you start seeing that kind of stuff, sometimes you just need to keep quiet, and so they definitely sort themselves. I have seen some media personnel who have been bullied online, and someone says, "Well, we found him raping the other girl," or "We found this guy." They use your power and mandate to cause something. We found this journalist. You're a prominent journalist, and then say, "We found you with someone's wife." Okay, they will create all sorts of rumor, and that is what we are calling cyberbullying. So how do you respond? Either block them or don't respond to them, but make sure you have that evidence so that you can report the case. The other is that, well, you can seek support from people who are in these things. Seek support or offer emotional kind of comfort or guidance to somebody, maybe from us, the Consumer Protection Agencies, or from maybe UCC, or maybe from the telecoms, etc. And then lastly, we encourage our people to report. There are always different websites through which you can report. For instance, you can engage the UCC consumer complaints platform. You can submit your complaint to the telecoms, whichever telecom you're working on or through which they are bullying you. And so we encourage people to report so that as the cases come through, we are able to track these guys bullying others, and maybe they can be blocked out of the telecoms or online. So that is basically for the victim. Now, what about the bully? If you're out there and you're the one bullying other people, we only have one request for you, basically to stop. Because when you start bullying people, you victimize them. So we encourage the bullies actually to stop. And when they're stopping, they need to think about, if this was done to them, what would happen? Or maybe think about the emotional impact you're causing to the victim. This guy has been in the media space. He's a very powerful guy on TV. You know, he has built his career over the last 15 years. And then you're bullying them, and then the person ends up, losing faith and hope. So you consider the emotional impact on the victim. And then we also calm down, and we talk about it. Calm down. Because if some people bully us because we have maybe had or we've been fronting each other, maybe there's been something we are competing for, please calm down and talk about it with somebody so that you don't actually start creating rumors about them online. Otherwise, that can cost them a job, it can cost them life, it can cost them everything they have. So the only recommendations we have always given to the bullies is really to stop and think about it in another way, but also think about the consequences that your actions bring online. Remember, so many thousands of people are online reading your posts, but the posts you're putting are actually false. And yet the consumer on the other side assumes they are correct. So even when they're supposed to give a gig to somebody, they're not going to give it because they will assume that this person is not in good books with the consumers. So the only option we have is to keep encouraging ourselves to stop cyberbullying. Because if we don't stop, then we are going to hurt other consumers. So it's a very big risk that we need to handle. But also, some of us now who are bystanders, you see a conversation heating up, and the only thing we are doing is to support now the person who was bullying actually. So we keep on, supporting the bully, and then we keep on liking, and we keep on reposting even what the guy is writing. That way, we promote the bully to actually continue bullying this guy. So what we need maybe as bystanders, let us not engage in online bullying. When you see that something is an online, a cyber bullying, don't engage, because the more you engage, the more you're polarizing the post, the more you're making him look like, he has to do it and so. So we encourage that don't engage in cyberbullying if you're a bystander. Actually, avoid amplifying the bullying by not sharing, by not liking, by not commenting. Just look on and move on. Because the more you like, the more you share, the more you comment, you're actually giving it weight. So whenever you see that something is cyberbullying, please, as a bystander, don't engage. Secondly, think about supporting the victim. You guys are in the media space. When you see that your colleagues being bullied online, it is the best time you have to support them, offer kindness to them, encourage the victim, so that you can pull it off together. Otherwise, people are breaking down there. People have been bullied to an extent that some of them even die of mental health concerns. So how do we support people when they are victimized by cyberbullying? And then let us endeavor to report cyberbullying. When you realize that a colleague or the population, maybe children or a particular entity or, are being bullied, we need to report these kind of things so that the people who are leading the cyberbullying activities, they can be arrested or put where they're supposed to be put. So let us always inform the authorities or platforms about the bullying. So that is what the bystander can do. Remember, I told you that when you're talking about cyberbullying, there are three individuals involved: the victim, the bystander, but also the person who is actually bullying or the bully. So this is what can happen for the three individuals. This is what we recommend. So our communities out there, they should be able to recognize what is cyberbullying, does it come up? And if I am a victim, how do I respond? If I am a bystander, how do I respond? If I am the bully, what am I supposed to do? So that is something that we need to communicate out there and tell our people so that they understand. So basically, in a nutshell, how to deal with cyberbullying? Just make sure you don't respond. Avoid engaging with rude or harassing messages that come on your phone, your email, on your WhatsApp, etc. And then two, the record. Make sure that you have that evidence because you shall present it at some level to seek justice. And then three, we talked about reporting. Let us ensure that we strengthen reporting mechanisms, maybe to the trusted authorities, to the law enforcement, or maybe even to the telecoms, etc. And then also, very importantly, let us protect our personal information. People who are bullying us, they bully us because they have access to our personal information. They have access to your contact, your email, your WhatsApp. Some of them even have access to your password. Our community members do not even know how to protect their password. It would be very nice that you have a password for a period of time. If to even possible, we have even encouraged people that every month you need to change your password, so your passwords, because they can be known by people externally, and so they use them to actually track your record, know more about you, and so they have you in intensely. They even know the number of children you have. They know your wife. They know everything. They know your email. They know your mobile money. They know your PIN. So at the end of the day, once you are not protecting your personal information, somehow you may be victims of cyberbullying. So one of the concerns we have is to protect personal information, your passwords, and your other information. It has to be protected as much as. And whenever you're giving up somebody your information, you've seen in Uganda, most of our rural setup, even in urban, people have phones, but their mobile money PIN is with the mobile money guy. So you send your child, go to the mobile money and withdraw 200,000. And then you give your child, your wife or your husband or your friend. That is even better. Sometimes we even give our passport to the mobile money operator so that your child just goes to the center there and then, go to Bira, you will put the code. I mean, that is society. That is very dangerous, and that's what our communities are doing. So we need to protect them. We need to inform them that sharing with somebody is the starting point of having these challenges that we are talking about. So protection of personal data is very, very important. And then, of course, lastly, I've talked about it, the issue of changing passwords. But it's not about changing passwords. It's about the strength of the password. There are people who have passwords, but the password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, these guys who are doing cyber security, whatever, and cyber, they know that many of us are using such kind of weak passwords. So they will always, get your phone and try. And if they have your personal information, like the birth year, they know that some people are using birth years as your password. So someone just uses 1993 because you were born in 1993, and so you have that as a password. Those are very weak passwords, and so someone can actually forge a year and they're into your mobile money and they're withdrawing your card. They can even get access to your bank details, and so they are able to withdraw your money even without your notice. Why? Because they have your PIN, they have your passcode, they have your passwords, etc. Some people can even log into your email and, by the way, cause trouble to you. They send an email on your behalf, but actually when you don't know, and they send this email to your donor or to your benefactor somewhere using your real email. Why? Because they had access to your password. So these are issues that then at the end of the day, you find wrong email was sent to your boss or someone, and is your email, and they suspend it the next morning. Why? Because someone had access to your password or your personal protection kind of information. So when we're dealing with cyberbullying, these are some of the key things that our people have to think about, and then we can avoid that kind of bullying. Now, just a quick discussion prompt. This is just for all of us. For every bit, I try to put some bit of questions for reflection. So do you think cyberbullying is a problem? I would love to see some of the answers in the chat, just if you don't mind, drop a chat to any of these questions. Do you think cyberbullying is a problem in your community, where you are? If you're in Kasese, you're in Bundibujo, you're in Fort Portal, you're in Kapenge, you're in Kampala, you're in West Nile, you're in Gulu, you're in the eastern part, if you're in Mbale, etc. Do you think, have we taken you through the cyberbullying aspects? Do you think it is a problem in your community? Have you seen that in your community or to yourself? It could be very interesting for us to receive some chats and see if there is anyone who has been a victim of this kind of circumstance. I had another follow-up kind of reflection. Have you ever witnessed anyone else being cyberbullied? It's not you, but someone else, and you've witnessed them being bullied. If yes, what did you do? Is there something that you did, maybe to save this person, or maybe what exactly did you do? And then maybe third reflection, have you ever made a report about cyberbullying? What happened next when you reported? Did you feel like the problem was solved, or it just went like that? So we could brainstorm on some of these things online, and maybe when Henry gives us space to speak later on, you could give us your experience. But also, have you had an opportunity to brainstorm some of the ways your community can fight cyberbullying now that you are at your different stations? We could have that kind of conversation. Don't fear, you can always put it in the chat box, and then we can be able to have more of these answers, and then we are able to know whether you have experienced this, whether these experiences happen in your communities, or whether you've seen some of these experiences in your communities about cyberbullying, or whether you've made a report on anything around cyberbullying, but also what has happened thereafter. I think that kind of conversation in the chat would be very, very helpful. You can keep answering these questions as we move forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is something on cyberbullying that I had prepared to share with you. But let us also look at some other aspects. Okay, let us look at this other challenge that we have. Something called inappropriate content. It's another risk online. It's usually called inappropriate content, where you are online, but then you have access to inappropriate information, especially for children. So you can find that everything you can ever imagine is online. The videos, there are, messages, there are music, you'll find pornography, all these things are there. You'll even find violent information, hateful information, sexual theme, etc. Now, some of this information is actually inappropriate for particular categories of individuals online. So, for instance, we have children. We have children online, but then they have access to, pornography. They have access to violent acts. They have, hate speech, etc. Now, that kind of inappropriate content, who puts it there? It is still some other consumer that is putting it online, and then it is being accessed by children or by youth who are not supposed to look at it. Now, who is in charge of our children's gadgets? And how are we protecting our children from inappropriate content that could be available online? So sometimes our children are left with tablets, with gadgets, and we are not controlling the content they're actually looking at. And at the end of the day, some children who have been very good children, they start getting spoiled. Children even want to fight with their parents, etc. Why? Because they had access to inappropriate content online. So it is our responsibility to check which kind of information am I going to put online. If I have children, how do I regulate what they have access to? These are things that are very, very important that we need to keep looking at, but usually we actually ignore them. So a lot of this mature content is inappropriate for children. So try to avoid inappropriate content as much as we can. Sometimes people send us links, click on this link and, you're going to get $10,000 and whatever. The president is giving free gifts. Now, when you're not very careful, you end up going into this kind of mess. And so you end up clicking and then you end up being hacked, etc. So the issues of hacking has come because there's a lot of inappropriate content. First of all, we are not reading it. We're not understanding it. It's on a particular URL and you're just, taking it up. So let us be careful about clicking on any unknown links. And this is what we need to tell the consumers out there, that when you see a link coming on your phone, be careful to know where this link is coming from. What is the content on that link? So some people have gotten into even more trouble, by the way, by sharing comments or even images online because they are inappropriate. You've shared images that are inappropriate, and at the end of the day, you see police coming to grab you. You find people being arrested. You find people being victimized just because of inappropriate content. So there's a lot of inappropriate content online that we need to be careful about and inform our people about that kind of content. Now, when there is inappropriate content, what am I supposed to do? We need, as much as possible, all of us, let us think before we post. What am I going to post? And when I post it, what will it impact on those consumers that are going to receive it? So basically, the principle is one. Before I post anything, think before you post it. If it is information on drinking, on drug abuse, on hate speech, is it all about vulgar language or offensive gestures, anything that you're going to post, let us always be careful to think before we post, because once we have posted it, sometimes it might be difficult for us to actually return the decision that we have actually made. And then also, if there's information on, revealing or suggestive images, maybe on threats, on, vulgar or offensive language or profanate, it's very important that we actually think before we do any sort of posting. I put a tip down there saying that if someone shares or asks you to share inappropriate content, please endeavor to consider blocking them, because that person can actually land you into trouble. Where someone says, please, when you receive like, share, and whatever, when you look at it, it's inappropriate content, you might land into trouble because of reposting or what is inappropriate. So these are also other risks that we actually have online. So I put up some bit of reflections again to all of us. You can share in the chat, you can share with us later. But have you ever come across any content online that bothered you? You look at it and you're like, why did this content come out? Why was it even sent? That kind of feeling. So who would you talk to if, for instance, you came across that kind of content, the content that bothered you? Where do you go? Who do you talk to? Whom would you call to actually talk about this kind of content? Would anyone be embarrassed, for instance, or hurt by the information you share? Have you ever thought about it? That when I share this information, I think someone else is going to get embarrassed. The colleagues in Photo, I used to tell you some time back that I get embarrassed when I see a person of a particular age and a particular caliber in society. When you post something, you get embarrassed by someone. What about you? Have you ever gotten embarrassed by the information you have shared? You have shared it, but you feel embarrassed, like, but why did I share this information? Something like that. So we need to be cognizant on what we share out there. And then for you guys who are in the media space, you guys are big. So many people are following you up, and so you're sharing information which is really inappropriate. And so it can be a problem. And many people trust what you say. So when you start saying inappropriately, people trust that whatever you're saying is true. So ask yourself, or let me ask myself, have I ever been embarrassed or hurt by the information that I've actually shared online? I've shared it, but it embarrasses me, So have you ever seen any posts from friends that changed the way you thought about them? You see a friend posting something and you're like, oh, I thought this guy has common sense. Like, that kind of thing, that kind of feeling. So you have a post from friends that has changed your way you think about them. Sometimes there's very good information, and when you receive it, you're like, oh yeah, this guy, yeah. But then there's also information coming from your friends or people you trusted, and you're like, wow, how did this guy send this kind of information? So you start even creating negative, thoughts about them. Have you had that kind of experience? What do you think about the information you've shared online? What does it say about you? Have you ever imagined that I've shared information on online, but do you know that information says so much about you, and do you know what it says about you? These are some of the reflections for this second of the conversation. Okay, so thirdly, there's what we call online privacy. It's another risk that people are taking out there. People share information about themselves online, either through sharing your images, sharing comments, sharing text messages, and all this is information that they're actually sharing out there. So when you share this information, think about what we call online privacy, because this is one of the dangerous things that we have seen. People share information to people they do not know, but just because they're in a particular social grouping, people share their images right there. People share their comments, text, and whatever on different platforms without even being concerned with what is actually happening. So once you put information online, it's always easy to lose control over it. Sometimes you be there and then you find your image or your photo has been shared on someone's TikTok, not even on your TikTok, on someone's TikTok or on someone's or somewhere. Like you're in Mbale, but you see your photo running everywhere on 10 platforms, and you even wonder how your photo actually went there. And the photo that they're sharing is the photo maybe when you're doing swimming somewhere. And maybe you're this kind of person who's reserved. You don't want your private life to be, but first of all, maybe you are indecent on that day because you're in a particular activity, but that particular photo is running somewhere. So once you put your information on someone's, page, it's easy for you to lose control over it. So anyone with access to your social media accounts or whatever may share it the way they want. They will copy it, they will share it, they will alter it, etc. So every time you're going to put information online, because you will have to put it there anyway, make sure that that information is what you want other people to know. Otherwise, to put your information in the hands of people who cannot control it, or where you have no authorization of your data, then you may have a problem. And that is, if you look at maybe from the perspective of data protection, I kept telling people that just imagine if you found your UNEB exam in somewhere on a street and is one they're using to package chapati, or you find your exam of a particular school and then it's the one being used in a pharmacy to pack medicines, So that is for data. We shall talk about it maybe when we come to data, but this is now online privacy. How do you make sure that your online privacy is guaranteed? That when you're online, you are safe. And that's why then it's important to take precautions to keep your information safe while online. Please, one of the ways of making sure that we are safe online and our online privacy is guaranteed is to create very strong passwords. And please don't share this. It is your password. It's actually yours. I have seen parents in Kampala who have advanced that when they are sending their children to school, they give them passwords so that when you go to school, you cannot take someone's child from school unless you have the password. So a child goes to school and the mother gives a password so that in case they send someone to pick that child from school, you can only access that child if you know the password of that child. Now, if it has gone to that level, what about online where everyone can have access to you? Please have very strong passwords for your WhatsApp, for your LinkedIn, for your your emails. Just have a very strong password, and then that way you'll have protected yourself. At least that is the first level of protection when you are online. So consider these friendly requests very carefully. Let me give an example of when you are on LinkedIn, you'll find so many friendly requests. Please, it's not a matter of accept. Some people have seen you, and so they want to pull you at some point. And so the only way they can do is to make sure that your friends online, and so they can always send you these things. So make sure that your information is protected, but also the requests that you receive are taken care of very carefully. So choose friends online with care and only accept people actually that you know or that you can trust. Otherwise, people can access your information and use it the way they want, and you end up with shit. So those who reveal too much personal data actually online, they have always become targets for identity theft, for scams, for computer hacks, for other troubles. So there's a lot of hacking happening. There's a lot of so people hack us because they have access to a lot of our information out there. So let us be very vigilant online, and especially you guys who are in the media, because everyone targets you. But use this same information to protect the other consumers that you reach in your different platforms. So here for members, before sharing personal information, it's important to check which website you're actually signing to. Is it trustworthy? Is it, you keep looking at those things. Issues of financial information. You see, you have a credit card and they're asking you for a passcode for your credit card, which credit card it is, and then you end up starting to lose money slowly from your bank just because you shared recklessly your information of the bank. So these are some of the things that you actually need to be very, very careful on, especially when it comes to online privacy. So what can we do around the privacy issues? Please always think before posting your addresses. When someone is asking you for address, you need to think about it. Well, the information be, well, how will it be used, etc. So think before posting your addresses, your financial information, your passwords, your phone number, your personal share and social security numbers. You need to be very careful and think about it. Make sure you only share them with the trusted individuals, if at all you must do. The tip is always ensure that you have a strong password. And this password must have maybe a capital letter somewhere, a small letter somewhere, maybe a number or a special character somewhere, just to make sure that your password is very strong and is a little bit difficult for someone to manipulate it unless they have access to it. So those are some of the aspects that we need to think about when we are talking about privacy, online privacy. Now, again, I came up with some bit of discussion prompts just to keep us thinking harder. What do you do to keep your online information private and secure? You as an individual. These are questions that you can keep asking our people on your radios, on your TVs, on your print media, whatever. We need to know, how do you actually keep online information private and also secure? But also, how do you decide who to add to your friends list? How do you have a criteria of how you select people to add on the list of friends you have, maybe on your TikTok or maybe on your Facebook, or do you have that criteria? Do you know what you need to do to add somebody as your friend on those platforms? Then when do you think it's okay to share personal information online? These are questions that we need to keep asking ourselves. When do you think it's okay to share personal information online? So as an individual, these are questions we need to keep reflecting on every time we are protecting ourselves from, cybersecurity concerns. Think about it. How frequently do you change your password? Some of us have not changed our passwords for the last 15 years. You still have the same password. How often do you change your password of emails, passwords of your mobile money, passwords of your bank, passwords of, how often do we change them? How frequently do we do that? It should be a habit that periodically we change our passwords, because people have mastered different passwords so they can use them the way they want, and they can steal our money from the bank, from our phones, from anywhere. So we need to be careful, often changing our password. So to you as an individual, how frequently do you change your password? By the way, have you ever had anyone steal a password? And what happened to them after? These are some of the things that should prompt us to think beyond the simple things. Oh, I'm online. I was online. I was online. But what does it actually mean? What does it cost you to be online? Those are some of the conversations we need to think about. Now, the third element, the fourth element rather, is about unwanted sexual requests. Other literature will call it harassment. Many people are being harassed online. Those are all risks that we're talking about today. Now, while online, people may receive unwanted requests. Sometimes people receive requests, especially children and the youth. They keep receiving these messages from adults asking them for, nude images, have sexual conversations, or maybe to meet offline for sex or something. And then, only to realize someone has been compromised. People have been online sharing. And so at the end of the day, we find really people losing their morality or something to do with that. So these requests may come from people, first of all, people they have just met online, but they do not know them. And then they may also come from their peers or young people who have been engaged in this kind of thing. And then you see people being abused online. And so if you have children, or if we have children, how do we protect them from abuse online, especially when it comes to unwanted sexual requests that keep coming online? So some of these are just basically to to lure people into sexual activities, into pornography, into why? Because these children or youth are actually not protected. People have access to their information. People have access to their parents' information. People have access to all these sorts of things. So all these are risks that we see online currently. And then some of them are lured into this because of monetary issues. So people are asked, okay, we have this much of money, we're going to give money, we're going to send this, we're going to do this. So people end up now going into these kind of things unknowingly. And our parents, or us, the parents, are not cognizant enough to check through what are our children watching, what are they communicating, with whom are they talking to. So you find that our children are being compromised, even as the adults, by the way, are being compromised. Someone is married, whatever, but you're being compromised by someone who has information about you. And so they can push you into sexual matters unknowingly. And so you end up now being compromised. Some families have died or have collapsed because of this kind of thing. The woman, maybe someone had access to your contact, and then they start sending weird messages, marital related stuff. And then maybe your husband gets to that phone, and then you are not anywhere engaged. But because your information is out there, someone is using it against you, and then a marriage dies just because someone has had access to your information, and then it's that kind of stuff. So when this happens, you should never respond to any requests you receive unless you know where they're coming from and you have control. Instead, you just report them actually either to an LDO or maybe to police or something. But adults elsewhere can also target kids or teenagers for months before making requests. You're promising school fees, you're promising a phone, you're promising something, and then these kids are being lured. And at the end of the day, they are compromised into this kind of sexual requests that come on their phones. So one, as consumers, this is a risk to our children. As parents, this is a risk to our children. As a society, this is a risk to morality of our children. And this is where most of the marriages have broken. Someone else is using your images or something to communicate to your husband. And then your husband is thinking that is true. And yet the person just got your information from, you because of our reckless handling of data or something. And that is it. So we need to take precaution. We need to tell our people how to take precaution when we are online to avoid a lot of unwanted practices like this. So sometimes out there, children, there's a term they call grooming kids. It's like people start flattering them, talk to them about sex, send them gifts. I've sent you a cell phone, I'm sending you a basket, I'm sending, especially the girls, someone is sending them an air ticket to Zanzibar. And the parent is not even asking, air ticket to Zanzibar to what? This is a 15-year-old. And the parent is not bothered at all. So ask them to keep these secrets. People are telling them online, please keep it as a secret. Don't tell your mother. Don't tell your whatever. Don't tell your father. Don't tell. When you do that, we shall not sponsor you, So try to isolate them. These elders are trying to isolate these kids from their families, from their friends. When a mother comes in their room, they hide. When you start seeing this kind of things, there is something happening online that your children are getting exposed to, and so it is your responsibility to quickly run in and save the situation. So please, let us encourage our people to report unwanted sexual requests that may come through our schools, our hospitals, and wherever they may come from. Now, again, another big problem. Do you know anyone who has received unwanted sexual requests? It could be you, it could be your relative, it could be your child, it could be your friend. So do you know anyone who has received unwanted sexual requests on their phone? How did they respond? And why do you think teenagers are actually tempted to meet offline? You realize these days that the conversation is online, but they say, no, let us catch up offline. Have you taken, consideration of this kind of stuff? So whom would you tell if, for instance, you received unwanted sexual requests? You are married and this person is on your case, they keep sending you these funny messages. So whom would you tell? Whom would you tell about it? And what advice would you give, for instance, if a person came to you and told you about this sexual request? These kind of conversations are not happening in our media currently, especially in the mainstream. But these are right conversations that we need to have on our radio stations, on our televisions, we need to start having these conversations so that people out there are awakened. So would you be bothered anyway by any unwanted sexual request? Why or why not? These are questions that you may, share in the chat. You can share your experience in the chat, or maybe a little later. I'm about to finish so that time we can talk on maybe the questions or any other conversations. Now, there is this other thing called sexting. It looks funny, but yeah, this is what now we are seeing as one of the risks. Now, what we call sexting is when minors, those children who are below 18 years, actually share sexual images of themselves, with their colleagues online. Someone is in their room and it's your child, but they are sending actually sexual images of themselves or other minors online, or maybe by cell phone, someone is sending these images out. One time, I am sorry to give this example, but I was teaching an online class. So when I was teaching, one of the ladies was at her hostel. And now I was having it as an online class, just like we're having it now. Unfortunately, she was online and then she had put on her video so that, I think she forgot to mute her video, so that I know that she's online. And so one of the criteria was that when you log in, you first put in your screen and then you're able to see you, then you can mute both your video and whatever. So she forgets to mute, and then boyfriend comes and they start having sex. Now, everybody else in class is seeing what is happening the other side. So the only option that I had as a teacher was, first of all, to call off the meeting and set a new link. Otherwise, these students were already getting that video in class and then already sharing it online with others. So, that is part of texting. So minors start sharing sexual images of themselves with other people online. And so this other girl gets embarrassed, the boyfriend gets embarrassed. And now imagine the parent, if at all this video reaches the parent. I mean, it's a whole thing. So we said, let us keep reflecting before you post. What are you posting? Why are you posting? And what is the implication to the other person? So you see that most minors or children share these images, one, to flat around, or because they were asked by a boyfriend or a girlfriend. However, sometimes also they are under pressure. If you don't do this, we're not going to send you this money. If you don't do this, we're not going to give you that. So these are the challenges that we meet, but we need to talk about them in public so that people understand them and so they can maybe be supported. So no one should actually pressure you or pressure anybody to do or to venture into sexting. And so no one has the right actually to someone else to share their images. And therefore it is illegal. And of course, that requires that someone can be arrested if they are found to do that, especially to the minors. So the law exists about that. Well, so let us now come to a little bit to the end of this other session. But I was trying to ask some bit of reflection. Do you think our kids and our teenagers feel pressure when to sex text, or why or not? What would you tell a friend who is actually thinking about sexting? What advice would you give a friend who received a sex text? Something like that. So we need to keep on reflecting and, see how we package our information to the public. The last risk we are looking at today is the online predators. There are those guys we call the online predators. Now, the internet has significantly increased the opportunities, of course, of young people to explore the world and socialize. Since the internet allows us to talk to many different people here and there. So online predators then may employ a technique called grooming, where they build trust of the children, and so they start using them in offline meetings, on online meetings, etc. So online predators usually find these social networking, they get them in blogs, they put them in their promos and etc. And so they end up now having, emailing lists for children and etc. So you find that now they start to our children into so many unbearable situations. And of course, how do we know that there's a predator? What can you look at to know that there's a predator? Sometimes people start coming and they show unwanted attention, affection, kindness. They start coming up in those kind of avenues. They start providing online gifts. So when these things start happening, you know that there is a predator somewhere that perhaps is coming. Start promising your children a scholarship, they want to show affection to a child, etc. When that kind of stuff happens, or you start seeing some signs of that nature, kindly know that there's a predator somewhere. So they want you to know the latest music, the latest hobbies, you know, and then they want to listen to you with sympathy, even when you have no problems, you know, something like that. So you see that gradually they start introducing sexual content, pornographic content. They start showing some conversations that are actually taking you off, etc. So that is one of the ways in which we tell the predators in our day-to-day work. So these are some of the tips to deal with them. One is that we encourage people never to download images from unknown sources. The moment you have unknown sources and their images, we discourage people from actually downloading kind of images from those unknown sources. But also we encourage our children to keep on consulting with trusted adults. It could be a teacher, it could be a parent, it could be an administrator. And so it is also our responsibility to keep on encouraging our children to consult the trusted children. Also tell a trusted adult about it. So how do we have these kind of things in schools? You know, consider choosing gender neutral screens. Do not reveal personal information about yourself anyhow, especially when it comes to age, your gender, and etc. Be careful when you are sending all this kind of information. There is an issue on digital ethics. It's another risk that is growing. Whenever you have information about, whenever you are using someone's data or someone's information, it's always very nice that you cite them, you acknowledge the information that you're getting from digital spaces, because some of the digital content is actually copyrighted. So when you don't acknowledge it, it can actually be criminal. So you as the media personnel, it will be very important that you stick to the digital ethics so that you are able to cite or you are able to acknowledge information you're getting from online. Because if it's copyrighted and you're using it anyhowly, someone may sue you, someone may use you, maybe they may take you to court. So please let us ensure that we maintain digital ethics, because it's something else that is coming out as a risk to the media. Okay, there's also a risk of revealing too much information about yourself. Anyone can access your personal information whenever you decide to reveal too much. So you need to have, how much can I give out? So you need to have that sense of how much you can actually give out to avoid scammers, to avoid cyber bullies, and also to avoid misuse of your information by other third parties that actually you do not know. So these are some of the tips to avoid revealing too much. Do not post email or email addresses or numbers on social media. Whenever someone is asking for your number on the social media platform, please just inbox them so that your emails and your phone numbers and whatever do not actually become public information. You can only share it with the person requesting for it online. But also, if someone is asking for a number, for instance, someone says, please share with me the email of Bernard. Now, when you are sharing, don't share on the group. Instead, inbox the person who is actually asking for that information, so that the person's information is protected, but also we have supported the other person to have this information. Well, so do not talk about sex online. Do not respond to emails or messages requesting for personal information unless you are very much aware of the person who's giving you that information. It's also good that you delete emails from unknown senders. When you get emails from unknown people or unknown senders, please endeavor to delete them or utilize the privacy settings to block out people that you actually do not know. So those are some of the avenues in which you can handle this kind of information. Lastly, these are the SMART rules. These are the rules that can help you to stay safer online. Please be careful not to give out your personal data when you are chatting or posting online. So please keep safe. But also meeting people, meeting someone you have only been in touch for only 2 days online can be very dangerous to meet them unless you are confident that they are the right people. But also in terms of accepting, take time to accept whatever you want to accept. Make sure that whatever you're accepting online, you have really understood what it is and should be reliable. So you must only and only rely on reliable sources for information. So I think those are the take homes that we have for today. And you need to think, remember to think, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? When you have this kind of mechanism, it becomes so easy for you to share information and to be able to be relevant to other people. So I want to, these are some of the reading materials that we can share with you. You can read more about what we have shared from these materials. So thank you so much for listening and for paying attention. I am now going to hand you over to Henry to proceed, but the rains are so heavy where we are. I don't know whether you are still listening to us or whether you are still hearing us. Otherwise, I want to stop here and thank you so much for your time and for listening to me, but also for your attention. I hope that I have not bored you. I hope that it has been helpful. This is the start of the 8th series we are going to have. So for today, this is the first conversation that we are going to have. We shall keep building on what we have had today. And then over time, we shall keep on looking at other matters that come. Thank you so much. And Henry, over to you.
We are very sorry. We are very sorry where we are. Rain has disorganized the audio, but I trust you have benefited from patient. What we are going to do, I'm going to post the live streaming that we will be able to pick from. The rains here in the palace are quite heavy. And thank you very much for all your appreciation of the presentation. So we are going to post the live link, the YouTube link. We'll be able to continuously use materials. So thank you very much. I would love to entertain a few questions and respond some of the issues online. But given the challenge of rain, not making all user-friendly, I don't can put your questions in the chat. We are going to capture them. So next Thursday, we will be in position to pick up everything, answer all that you will have sent us in the chat. So, colleagues, we are sorry about the rain. We are going in position. So, take time to put as many questions in the chat. I have also put the live link. You will be able to go on picking the information from the live link I have shared. Then lastly, we are about to send you the link and you register. Remember, why we refuse you to register in the chat in that we are supposed to protect your data. So if you register in the chat, everybody can pick up every information about you. So that's why we are asking you to register in the using the form we have put in the chat, the link. That information we can protect. And we are following the license guidelines that we have from the Data Protection Privacy Office, National Data Protection Office. So that said, I would encourage you to continuously put your questions in the chat. But I can see there is one question. What is the difference between a joke and cyberbullying? I don't know if Bernard, you have a minute or two and respond to that, and also pick up some other questions. Bernard, please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Henry. There are many questions in the chat, but most of them are actually comments. I am happy to see that the colleagues are actually writing their experiences in the chat. It's quite very interesting to see. Now, there is a joke and then bullying. Now, the question is, how is the joke designed? And what is the intention of the joke? Now, sometimes when you write your joke and then it affects the other person who's receiving it, or people can look at a joke in such a way that it is actually affecting the person who is receiving the other side. So it ceases to be a joke and ends up being a bullying, because somehow you are trying to insinuate something and then the other person feels embarrassed, the other person feels hurt, and then some people even start fighting online. You've seen sometimes you start a joke, but then the joke ends up in separation. People start running out of your WhatsApp because of the nature of the joke. So we need to be very careful. Whom are you joking with and how are you joking? Otherwise, if the joke is going to make people be at ransom and even start fighting and start feeling uncomfortable, then it becomes a problem. So we need to be careful with that. Yeah, all jokes must be calculated. That's what I have to say. Now, there is someone saying, is it removing someone from WhatsApp group? I think in cyberbullying, only if done intentionally to humiliate somebody. Yeah, sometimes you want to remove someone from the group because of maybe their phone has been hacked. So sometimes you have to take them off to protect other members. But sometimes when someone is removed from the group, maybe because of the nature or the way they associate, then the group, if the group has rules and has its guidelines, then the person can be removed, but without humiliation. So when people are removed after being humiliated, it becomes a problem. So it depends on which kind of removing from the page that you're actually undertaking. Enoch says that sexting is now increasing in Uganda. Yes, it is increasing because many people have smartphones, there's now social media, a lot of private messaging, and yeah, it becomes a problem. So we need to think about how do we talk about these issues on our radios so that our people can actually understand these things and maybe desist from them. Yeah, so it is critical for us to undertake all these things and understand them. Other people are appreciating the session. Thank you so much. And let me see if there's any other. Most of these comments are experience of people, and I really want to appreciate what you guys are submitting. Christopher says he thinks that cyberbullying, the media at times enables people to tolerate cyberbullying. Yeah, so Christopher raises a very critical concern that sometimes the media actually enables involuntary cyberbullying. Well, you post a photo of a man or a woman, and of course start asking them what they think about it. In fact, many times, media houses have also facilitated the voluntary bullying. I have seen where some people call in and they want them to speak about a particular issue, but they have already given a story of somebody who has, done ABCD, and then you want to call the wife or the husband. I mean, sometimes that kind of thing can be part of bullying, but I know that the media personnel handle it within the frameworks of the law. So in that way, they have a lot of defense. But there are instances where if you don't do it systematically or lawfully, someone can actually sue you. So it's very important as a media house, or as a media personnel, be very careful with everything that you're posting out there. And now we need to do more awareness of how to prevent sex testing, how to avoid bullying, and how to avoid some of these circumstances. If people are not aware, people will be victimized in silence, and yet we have the media platforms that we can use to sensitize the masses. So, ladies and gentlemen, I feel that these are very important aspects. Katia says, how can one differentiate between the joke that one has answered it? How can we balance protection against cyberbullying while ensuring that we don't seek for speech? Yeah, so now these are aspects that we need to think about when we are now, telling our information. How do we make sure that there is a balance in cyberbullying and then there is also free speech? People have to be allowed to express themselves, and people have to be allowed to report issues that are coming up. But just imagine someone reporting, and then we are saying, okay, cyberbullying. The issue of cyberbullying should be taken in a way that you are actually causing it a harm, knowingly or unknowingly, to someone else, without actually even consulting with them. I don't know how best we can strike a balance, but I think the channel, how do we package information to make it relevant for awareness, for instance, or when someone is giving their experience on radio. So I think there is a way we need to strike a balance. I'll try to find out a better way how to package these answers. But as media personnel, I know that you have so many of these experiences of bullying versus balancing protection. So I think that Christopher, you raised a very critical aspect to also help us draw a line between, bullying, but also ensuring that people have free speech. So I love the example you are giving, a media house, which was about a figure who has died. And then unfortunately, the commentator starts speculating. Now that is where trouble comes from, really. I don't know how best that can be handled, but as media personnel being experts in this area, I know that you have a better way of how best you can handle some of these issues, because they raise a lot of comments. Comments start coming up, and then the comments can be a little bit tricky sometimes, and then some of the comments are actually hurting other people. So it's a little bit dangerous, but let us keep reflecting on this subject. By the end of our 8th session, I know that we shall have all the answers within us, but also a better way of handling these aspects. So colleagues, thank you so much for your comments, your input, I have seen so much of your discussions and your experience sharing. I know that next week we shall be able to bring in a new concept. We also brainstorm on it, but also we are working ourselves to see how best we can share with the masses out there. I want to encourage all of us to visit the chat and please get that form. Please register so that our finance team is able to send you your data as soon as we can possibly send it. So that we don't have challenges of, someone didn't register, we missed out, someone didn't get their money. Preferably register with a contact that is in your mobile money and also indicate the mobile names so that your money doesn't really delay. Now, tomorrow, we shall also have another webinar on data protection at the same time. Please, I encourage you to join the conversation at 2 p.m. Asha will be sharing the link so that you join in and also we discuss data protection issues, specifically looking at the law that is on data protection. So please don't miss, encourage your other colleagues to join in. Ronette will be sharing the link again. I see someone asking the link again. So please go in there, pick the link, register, so that we don't miss out on your facilitation as soon as the meeting ends. So please encourage our colleagues to attend tomorrow, and we shall keep engaging also next week. We shall keep sharing the information to you so that each one of you is able to access these materials and these conversations. I would be glad to see some of your articles already, some of your messages on your radios when they start coming through. We shall start consolidating them so that we are able to get those who are outshining out there so that you can have your awards at the end of the episode. So as we have always done, we award people who continue and talk about the subjects that we have talked about here, or write about them on your social media platforms, on your TVs, on your radios, on your print media, etc. So when we receive this information, we keep synthesizing it, we keep analyzing it, and then we are able to award the person who, or the people who will be outstanding in terms of reporting and also in terms of creating awareness on the subjects that we are sharing with you. So please ensure that you'll be part of the winners. We shall award the regions that will be winning. We shall also be awarding individuals that will have more articles in the print media, but also those ones on TV, those ones on radio, and then those ones on the online platforms. So each one of you can fall in any of those categories, and then you are able to receive your awards. Each one of us will receive a certificate. As long as you attend at least 80% of the series, you'll be able to receive your certificate. So having mentioned all that, we shall continue appreciating the messages that you're sending in. And as I hand it over to Henry, I think those were the questions. Others were comments. Henry, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Bernard. That was great. And colleagues, thank you very much. I would like to wind up by saying that we are very honored to have you over 80 participants here. And we are greatly honored to know that you have learned something, you have liked the Zoom. I've seen everything in the chat. Like I said, the session is live. You can pick it up in the YouTube channel, and it will also be on our WhatsApp channel, our YouTube channel at Constant. You'll pick it up there. You can follow up. And also, the presentation will be shared with you. But in the meantime, you can use the YouTube recording. And let's continuously engage. We are going to engage you tomorrow here on data, on personal data protection. But today we have started the 8th series of Safer Internet for All. And I trust that what you have learned today, and what has been shared with you, you will be in position to relay it to others, relay it to children, young children, parents, educators, schools, related to the policymakers in a respective region. A number of you are MCs on weekends or daily basis. You engage in community initiative, community functions. Please relay this information as you post, you do mentoring on those social functions at whatever level you are in your community. Do not stop on the way. Relay this information to fellow media who are not here today or who have not joined the Media League today. Relay to the civil society organizations. Relay information to the industry. When you see things that are affecting consumers, that are affecting the public, do not keep quiet, be ambassadors for safer internet. The mission of building safer internet for all has started with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you very much with regards to safer internet. See you next week here online, and tomorrow to be with you once again at 2 o'clock. And those who ask, can we meet you in your regions? Yes, we can, and we are mobilizing. Currently, we are in the Mbale region doing work. We have met one of the leaders, the Mbale, the Eastern Region Media League. We met with Swipe, Koseku, and planning how we can meet in the near future. We want to do a tour as we hope these media leaders host them from different areas. And today's media league found us in the field. We are held up in the Palisa, where we will be leaving shortly to go back to Mbale. But our work requires us to meet our stakeholders wherever you are. We hope the future media leagues to be held either in a Guru, Fort Portal, Kalsese, we can be in Ajmani, in Chisoro, anywhere in that we pass, we see you as our stakeholders. So it has been a great pleasure. And I want to wind up by saying, please register so that we get to know who participated. So, thank you. I'm going to leave the webinar open for another 10 minutes. You can type in your question, and as you finalize handling the registration. Yeah, Divine Barbara, I've liked what you're saying, how you wish we would handle this physically. We are going to discuss UCC and show the thirst that you have, or the quest for reading this information out to the public. So as I informed you at the beginning, and I would like to put with this. When you use the content that we have shared, when you use your learning and generate content, please relay that information to our communications and engagement manager, Asha Ntabade, who does the coordination of this, and we keep record of it. We will be giving you certificates for participation if you participate up to 80% of this webinar, which you need to participate in 7 webinars. Then those who have generated work, content, and educated further, you will be recognized as ambassadors, and they are accolades for you as a internet that will be handed to you. To relay this information, and even the best region will also be given a trophy having effectively participated in this webinar. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and we look forward to being with you tomorrow and next week. Okay, we are going to take a group photograph, the few of you who are there. We might not have your faces, but we'll have your names. So
maybe as we take the photo, we just have a few minutes because it's 1 minute to 4. Please, if you have not registered, do as well and register. We don't want anyone to complain that they didn't receive their resources. So kindly register. I think we shall add in about 5 minutes for those who have not registered. For those who are done registering, Henry, when you're done with the photo, I think everyone can log off at will and see how we proceed with it. And we catch up tomorrow. Thank you, colleagues.